I don't have a title
Okay.
for these things. I know this. This was an experiment to see if it made any difference to have a very, very light center as opposed to a normal weight center. And as far as the way that the disc flew, it didn't seem to make any difference at all. There was no change in the characteristic of the flight. But you could see as it flew, this thing puffed up like that in the center. It looked like a flying saucer. It was pretty cool. So it got a little bit more glide, but not because it was light, but because of this, you know. It had more of a cushion of air underneath it. It was just an experiment like this. This looks like an Aero, but it's not an Aero. It's a Aviar-sized Aero. And yeah, it was originally 173 grams, and then it became 148 grams. This thing was great. This was the precursor of the Dart. You know, I cut the rim off, trimmed away some plastic, reattached the rim and welded it here with, you know, with a soldering iron. I did a pretty good job on this one. I guess at the time it was an easier disc to putt with. You know, you can torque it up better. You know, the smaller the diameter of the disc, the easier it is to torque up, you know, to snap. And the larger, the more sluggish your snap's going to be. And when you're putting, you don't really want a sluggish snap. You know, you want a popper. You know, and I have others, smaller versions. This is I guess you know, same thing, but even smaller than this. So I did a pretty good job here too. Amazing, but same kind of thing. You know, took a disc and cut the flight plate out, cut the rim out. You know, took a chunk of the rim out and re-welded it together to make a model. The puppy was out, and that was one of the discs that I used as a flight plate. And this here is basically an Aviar, you know, before it actually became an Aviar. This is, I think this rim is from a different disc, and then flight plates from the puppy, and I'm not sure where I got the goo, but you can see it's really not the same stuff. You know, this is all to test how things fly. And you have to, you know, you have to extrapolate in the wear part of it. You know, it's going to be a little bit less stable than it would be starting out when it's all smooth and stuff. I think this was the precursor to the Phoenix, yeah, that Sam broke the world record with. I think this is the precursor to that. To see if there was anything to it, and yeah, there was. Much faster disc. Still had a lot of float to it because it's 180 size. So a little slightly overstable, slightly unstable at high speed, but overstable at low speed. So that new throwing method that I came up with, the Anheuser, I became known as the Swedish Anheuser, but I was the one that came up with that. Taught Sam how to do it, and he broke the world record. These are like the first shots when we first went into business. April 1983, the first test shot, one of two. This is an Eagle test. It was a test color for the Eagle. This is from a run, the first run of the Eagles, and there was 3,000 of these made originally. And this is for the run too. This is a heavier weight, magenta. It looks pink, but they call it magenta. And this was, there was total run of 7,000 of these, but not this color. And they were color coded. This color was the 70s. The 60s were orange. The 50s were yellow, chartreuse. And then the 50 class were blue. That was Stork's favorite. He loved the 50 class, the blue ones. Basically, these are all arrows of different sizes, you know, the same design, so that they're all stable, flyers, point and shoot, but different sizes. And, you know, what's the experience like with those different sizes, you know? And, you know, at one time I thought, well, you know, all the drivers went from, you know, 180 size to 175 size because they were easier to torque up, right? Not because they were better flyers. They were a little faster, but they didn't glide as well. The larger diameter discs glide better than the small one. Maybe that's why the mid-ranges, a lot of the mid-ranges are still 180 size, because they got better glide than the 175 size. Now, when we came out with our Aero, there was a lot of controversy. I mean, a ton. There was actually some controversy at the 1983 Worlds. They took a vote on whether or not the Aero was legal for play at the World Championships. When they voted on it, it was overwhelming, I believe, and that was the first time that a non-whammo disc was allowed in a DGA sanctioned event. But there was a big contingent of the establishment players that said to me, some of my friends too, they said, Dave, you ruined Frisbee golf. All these courses are now obsolete because your discs go too far, you know? And, you know, my reply to them was, we will develop the courses. Frisbee golf is something you make fun of. It's not a real sport. That's not the case anymore, okay? Not the case anymore, okay? It is a dynamic sport, and we started that in 1983. I'm proud to say.